Dhirendra Kumar, CEO of Value Research. Afternoon, Dhirendra. Thanks for joining in. Plenty of action. Finally, we're seeing some steps being taken to revive the mutual fund industry. First up, no talks about revival of entry load. Is that a big relief for investors?
Yeah, I think it is a big relief, and it is continuing relief because a lot of investors, even in the people who send their questions for our ET Now Daily Show, they have been becoming, they were curious and they were actually anxious about this. That if regular investors, then they have gotten used to entry load, without investing without entry load, and revival of this. But I don't know why this rumor actually gained ground, because SEBI chairman on occasion has just emphasized that it is not even on the horizon. Even AMFI has not demanded the restoration of entry load, but I think speculation just carried on, because everybody, the business community around mutual fund is of the belief that all the problems pertaining to mutual fund has something to do with the entry load abolition. I think it was just a coincidence that the decline of the market and entry load abolition, it coincided, because today investors are not happy, not because there is no entry load or exit load, or investors will not get excited about mutual fund if there was entry load. The problem is that investors haven't made any meaningful money over the past 4-5 years, and that is the key issue. And for that, one has to wait for the market to turn around, to do well, for them to, because end of the day, mutual fund is a derivative.
There is a proposal to increase the total expense ratio by a good 25 bips. What does it mean for investors?
It means that if actually what Mr. Sinor just said before our conversation started is that he's talking of 25 basis points increase in the management fee and this will primarily apply to equity fund. On top of it, he's saying that service tax, which is part of the expense ratio today, has to be over and above the expense ratio. So that is additional 12 basis points, 12%. That will actually mean that equity fund management cost will go up by nearly 17%. If it is only 25 basis points, then it is about 11%. But if you add the service tax as well, then it will be about 16-17%. So cost of fund management, and primarily equity fund management, because most fixed income funds are far lower than the ceiling provided for the expense ceiling provided. On top of it, what I have understood from AMFI is that they are asking for greater flexibility. That I think is an interesting thing, because today there is a bracket that fund of the 2.25%, which is maximum allowed for equity fund. 1.25% is management fee. Rest of it is operating expenses and distribution fee. So there is absolutely no incentive for fund companies to reduce their expenses on other front, because there is a tendency to hit the ceiling. There is no incentive for them to benefit from cost reduction. So if this happens, I think fund management business will actually work towards reducing the cost, because there will be a beneficiary of it. So fungibility of expenses is a great idea. I really wonder that increasing the expense ratio ceiling is a good idea. Even if it is allowed, then it should be allowed for a defined time period, so that it is being given as a relief, as a defined time period relief for next 1 year or 2 years for industry to tide over their lean times or difficult periods, and after that it should expire. Because today we have a very efficient, scalable, because mutual funds are supposed to pass on the benefit of economies of fund management to investors, and the current pricing mechanism, the current pricing formula is very much well structured. The scale goes up, the cost comes down, and it is calibrated very nicely.
Right. Dhirendra, there is also this proposal for the exit load to be credited directly to the scheme. Do you think that's a pro-investor move?
Yes, I think it is a meaningful thing, and I think it should be logically should have always been like that, because exit load, we don't have actually exit load technically speaking. They are contingent deferred sales charge, which means that if you stay in a fund for 1 year, there is no load, and if you and that is the normal pricing mechanism for equity fund. And if you exit before a defined time period, then you are levied a charge, and that charge is primarily to deter a short-term investor because if an investor is getting in and out of a fund, he might be harming the interest of a long-term investor. And if the action of a short-term investor is going to cause a harm to a long-term investor, then the long-term investor should be compensated and the short-term investor should be penalized. So the contingent deferred sales charge, or the exit load popularly known, should get into the fund. It should not go to the AMC. So in that sense, I think it is an anomaly which should be fixed, and it should be fixed quickly.